Welcome back to another Echoes of New Eden short. I'm Taylor Rick. It's been a long time since I've done one of these videos, and today is going to be a short one. While we have been having some of the longest main shows, our main shows on Thursdays, last couple of weeks they've been just super long, 2-3 hours apiece. This week, though, on this short, it is going to be short indeed. We're going to go over one specific thing that came out in the game over the last few weeks. There's been a lot of stuff that's hit that I'd like to go over. Unfortunately, Fulmination server just isn't working at all. Sometimes you can get in there and modules work. Sometimes you can get in there and they don't. Other times you can pull up a fitting screen. 9 times out of 10, you can't pull up a fitting screen. So if I can't even do that, then I can't even show you a fitting of a dictor or a hictor, which was going to be this week's video. But alas, and all the new stuff, faxes and everything else haven't been put into the Fulmination server yet either. So it is behind, to say the least. Therefore, I am behind. But with today's video, we're going to talk about one thing specifically, and that is the Ansiblex Gate, or as we commonly refer to them as our own jump gates. So there's a little bit of confusion around these jump gates, how they work, what kind of range they have, who can use them, all of those things. I'm going to break that down today and give you the details. First and foremost, what's wonderful about these jump gates is that they do not show up on the map. They won't show up on the map. So I think that's a good thing. I think it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but it's also a good thing. You also cannot autopilot to them. So even if you lay down a whole network, that's not something that you can autopilot to. You can get stuck at these things, by the way, when you go to use one. You can most certainly get stuck there because somebody can go bubble that gate as well. And it's not like you warp to it and automatically jump through it at a regular gate, because you have to accept the fee. There is a toll that you have to accept. So that's kind of funny as well. So let's get right into it, and we'll go into the structure management. We'll pull up this one. This one, of course, is called Highway to Hell. I thought that was apt. I don't know if it was the first gate dropped in the game, but it definitely was our first one in the area. I have blanked out where this thing is anchored and where it's linked to. So good luck figuring that out. That'll be a fun little game for everybody to play, to kind of figure out where these things go to. Internally, we know where they are because we have the settings set in such a way to where those in our alliance can use them. So it takes 20 anchor points. That's the first point of contention. That's a lot of anchor points. So we've had a little bit of a wrangling about who's going to do what where, how these things are going to get placed, who's giving up these anchor points, because as anybody in nullsec knows, the anchor points come at a premium, right? You only have so many citadels. Every corporation can have a total of 5, but that doesn't mean your alliance has the space, or you have, the right kinds of numbers inside of your corp to really be able to have 5 citadels. Even if you did, and you had them all maxed out for different things, building and space labs and analytic computers and the assembly bays and all the other different things for the PDAs now, to be able to, the pirate detection bays up to a level 3, which takes a total power of 30, so that you can run these new cap-in deads. All these things take power. It adds up. And of course, with an anchor points of 20, you're going to have to juggle some things somewhere. So with that said, though, it does take a decent amount of structures. It's basically a level 2 structure that gets put in space. You can't blow it up, which really sucks. I wish these things were all destroyable, just like anything else. Loss is what makes Eve go. But unfortunately, once these things are anchored, they're there until you take over the Citadel. Then you can blow them up, or just, unanchor them and sell them off. But anyway, so this one is linked. And when you go into the linked screen, you can kind of see where the permissions are set. And you can see the estimated fuel fee, all these different kinds of things. It's kind of nice. It's very simple. It's the same types of settings as your Citadel, but it's separate than your Citadel. I kind of wish that they were tied together. That would just make things easier for the majority of people. But with that said, having them separate from one another can kind of make for some interesting mechanics. It'd be really cool to have like an anyone can use it jump gate network set up somewhere in null, and that just be the constant, everybody fighting area. But alas, not to be. Anyway, now this fee here, by the way, you can type in anything you want. That's per jump, but it's per jump based on the ship class, right? So when you set that number is actually pegged to a frigate. as you can see right here on the screen, 25,000 was what I had typed in, and so it's 25,000 ISK per frigate to go through. Capsules are smaller, destroyers are more, and as you can see, it kind of goes up the screen, up the level to capital ships being 625,000. Other ships, I don't know what ship those others fall into, whatever. But every ship can go through here. Now, the funny thing, two funny things about this, okay? Number one, it's all based off of gigajoules, so you have to figure out what kind of fuel you're going to use, what the costs are, and then go back and set your toll booth number to make sure that you're not losing ISK every time somebody jumps through. Actually, there's more than two things that are funny about this. But at any rate, when you set this, then you go and type in your number here, right? And we came up with 25,000 for ours because it was 25. Cost of ISK was 25 per gigajoule, so therefore 25,000 per. Get you a baseline. That's going to be different based on how far your jump is. If your jump is out to the max, which is 5 light years, there's no way to upgrade that right now. It's just 5 light years max. That's it, period. Then you might want to adjust that up or down. But what is absolutely hysterical about this is if you look right up above where it says Stargate usage fuel, it says remaining fuel, right? Well, you have to constantly fuel this thing. And what's hilarious about it is the fuel is not based on storage. It's based on gigajoules. So if I click on this and say inject, I'm now quote unquote full again, but it only injected so many gigajoules, not so many meters cubed of fuel. So what that really means then, if you look at the amount of fuel you have versus what your fuel usage is in terms of gigajoules, I can jump 4 capitals through this thing and have no power. So I guess we all better have a specific role in our corp now called Fuel Boy, and he just has to go around and fucking make sure all these gates are full and have plenty of fuel in them. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. That needs to be changed. That needs to be meters cubed. It just needs to pull from the Citadel hangar, since you can do it from right here and you're literally pulling from the hangar. Then it just needs to pull from the hangar. It doesn't need to be this weird separate thing. I know it's like that on EVE Online. I know it's a problem where you have to actually fly out to the dang thing and put the fuel in while you're sitting next to the Citadel. I actually like that idea. It's a different idea. That would make for some very strategic types of conflicts, right? So, and with a gate in your system, if you have a jammer in, you can still move your capitals in and out from multiple systems away. So this makes for another new interesting thing here for your own defensive staging, as well as being aware of how you're offensively going to tackle an area. So if you know where these gates are in enemy territory, you kind of have an idea at least of where they could possibly coming from. You could be bubbling these gates, moving around. You could be intentionally trying to get them to cycle down the fuel so that they can't jump anything else through, and then go and, I don't know. There's lots of little play that you can do with it that should make it very interesting. I like it. It's a neat little feature to the game. I had no idea that these things were going to drop when they did. It was a surprise. It came awfully quick after the PDA upgrade, so that was another point of consternation. Within 3 weeks' time, we have to jiggle around our power levels twice. So anyway, all in good fun. Lots of things to do, as always, in EVE. I'm trying to think of anything else that need to cover this in terms of the gate, other than have fun naming them, because I think that's hysterical. The naming of them could be all kinds of things. Highway to Hell. I've seen Stairway to Heaven. I've seen Interdimensional Customs. Those are 3 that I know of that are in and around Declan. So that'll be a lot of fun to see how people name these and what they do with them. Oh, and then of course, when you go to pay that toll, like I'd said before, you stop, right? So you just instantly stop, and then you have to click yes. And so during that time when you're sitting there, you can definitely get ganked. You can definitely get jumped. So that's always fun. Trying to think of anything else with these gates. Like I said, 5 light years apart max. It'll be fun spacing them out, getting things moved around. You can move a jump freighter through it, although that's kind of funny. But you could definitely move your Sino through to then be able to Sino in, somewhere else. When you're moving around the map, this just makes things much faster logistically for your defense. It'll make things quicker for your offensive hits in areas with jump gates, it will make things harder for you. You'll have a much harder time getting ahead of a defensive fleet. Oh, and that's the other thing I was thinking of. I knew there was one more thing about these gates that I almost forgot to mention. When you anchor it, it's anchoring. It's the same thing as anchoring anything else with a structure, right? It's a 24-hour. You got a 15-minute anchor period, a 24 hours until it's anchored, yada yada yada. Then you can inject your fuel, but then you have to link it to another gate that is within range. That also is willing to accept your link, right? So this is a two-way handshake. And there's a 6-hour time frame between that. So let's say there's another gate out there in space. Let's say I want to link to it. Let's say it's already ready. And I go and say link. It's accepted it. We have a 6-hour timer. Whoever had the last half of that handshake, that's where the 6 hours comes from. Then they're linked. So it's not going to be exceedingly quick to be able to delink and relink and move these things around based off of a current defense strategy, right? So if you had linked from systems A and B, but you were trying to mount a defense in system C, you can't break that link and move it to C fast enough for any kind of a quick form up. Now, if you were planning a form up for staging for trying to hold a system where the Citadel's in hull, and you already had this gate anchored, I don't know what the mechanics of these things are when your Citadel itself is reinforced. I don't know if you're able to change the link at that point. That's one thing that someone's going to have to come shoot me to find out, I guess. But at any rate, that would be an interesting concept, though, if you could move those links around, even if your Citadel's reinforced, even if it's for the next system over, to allow you to have a faster form-up time for your own defenses at a hull or a armor timer or whatever. So all in all, it's a great update. It's its own little pains in the ass, as always. NetEase always wants to make things difficult for us, but that's part of the game. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it you have to team up with your fellow members in your corp and your alliance to really make things interesting. And all in all, it's a great update. The last couple of months have been just a ton of new stuff coming down the pipeline. If you were listening to the Echoes of New Eden show last week, we went through the Trello map update for November, December, and January. There's even more coming before the end of the year. If you thought they were working at a fast pace before, oh boy, the back half of this month has been absolutely loaded. And in my mind, it's a little bit too fast. But with all said, lots of fun. I'm Taylor Rick. We'll see you next time on another Echoes of New Eden short.
The trap is sprung.